Hello, this is Mart back again. I'm an actor and filmmaker based out of South Florida. And for this video, I kind of want to give you guys kind of a career update that's going on in my life. And as you guys can tell from the title, I've left Trivia Nation. So for those who don't know, what is Trivia Nation and what did I do for them? Trivia Nation is basically a trivia night company. We go out and host games at a bunch of different restaurants and bars and whatever have you. And it's, like a trivia game, trivia night for the people there, the patrons of that restaurant or bar. I did it alongside a friend at the Miller Ale House that we have here in Miami. There's a bunch of Miller Ale houses here, but I'm not going to tell you which one specifically, but I did it at one of the Miller Ale houses that we have here in Miami. It's about a good 15, 20 minutes away from my house, depending on traffic. And if you're from Miami, you know that depending on traffic means a lot. So, yeah, so why exactly did I leave Trivia Nation? Why did I leave that job? It's a job I've had almost for 2 years at this point. We started literally on Halloween of 2023, and we're about to enter July, so it's almost 2 years, essentially, of me being with that company. So why did I leave? And I'll be honest, a huge part of the reason I left honestly had to do with my own religious beliefs. As you guys know, I am a Christian. I read my Bible every day, which I'll get to this in a bit. I pray every day about whatever's going on in my life, for the people around my life. And that's a very big part of who I am, especially now. And just to kind of give you some context, last month in May, I really didn't feel like I was doing that. I really didn't feel like I was as connected to God as I should have. I really wasn't putting my best foot forward in leading and living a Christian life, a good Christian life. And more so because I am working, well, it's essentially a bar where there's a lot of temptation, especially when it comes to drunkenness and lust. And those are stuff, as a guy, especially if you're a guy, that you do struggle with lust a lot. That's kind of an open secret. A lot of people don't like discussing, but, we have to be honest with ourselves. We do struggle with lust, whether that's looking at pornography or whether that's, just checking out a girl. That is, with lustful eyes, that's something that we all struggle with in some capacity, some more than others. And I felt like, and me being in that position, and me being in that career job, I guess you could say, or in that job where I'm constantly being hounded by both drunkenness, and granted, I don't drink, but still, having that temptation, being there, as well as just, having beautiful women there, and sometimes they're hating on me, or sometimes I'm like, should I flirt, should I not flirt, and knowing that, hey, maybe flirting isn't the best idea right now, that honestly is something that has weighed heavy on my heart, because eventually I do want to get married, of course, and I want to be married to a good Christian woman, and I'm not going to find a good Christian woman at a bar. I'm going to be honest with you. So, is that why I basically left? In a sense, yes. Just the temptation there was kind of eating me up after a while. And last month in May, especially, I just felt very guilty about some of the activities, I guess you could say, I was performing. Again, in the sense of just checking them out, checking women out, and again, having that temptation to drink. And I felt very convicted in that sense. And it's also something that I've just been wanting to do for some time already. Since, give or take, February, March, I've been wanting to leave that place. However, I didn't feel comfortable enough leaving that place because of the fact that I need the money. For those who don't know as well, at the end of March, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, so I'm also helping him pay with some bills, house bills and medical bills as well. So I kind of need the money in that respect as well, especially now that I'm going to start creating a savings account. I'm still talking with my accountants for that, but I'm going to be creating a savings account so I can put money for my future, for my family in the future. So there's a lot of moving parts going on in my personal life. So because of that, I didn't really think it was wise for me to quit this job yet. However, in doing that as well, I was also kind of just self-damaging myself and kind of, in a sense, disqualifying my own testimony, which is maybe something I'll do for another video. But at the moment, I was just kind of disqualifying my own testimony. And for those who don't know, testimony is how you came to God. That's the word that we use, testimony. Eventually, at the end of May, I prayed to God, literally right here in this room. I was looking I have a small little cross figure here, to my little cross figure that I have stationed up there. And I kind of just prayed to God, like, hey, help me, like, convict me of just a bunch of the different stuff that was going on last month, and trying to, like, help me read my Bible more, help me pray for myself and for my family and my friends and the people out there more, show me the light to correct my path, I guess. And this whole month, from week one, he answered from time after time after time. The first day of this month of June, the first day of June was Sunday, so of course I went to Sunday Mass, Sunday service, whatever terminology you want to use, that's what I went. Monday night, I had young adults, which is for the people from my age range between 18 and 33. We meet up, we read the Bible. It's almost like another mass service, another Sunday service, but it's, again, geared towards the young adults. On Tuesday, I had the men's group, same thing, but for men's. And then Wednesday, which is when I would usually work at trivia night, it got canceled because of the Panthers games, because I guess hockey is a big thing here in Florida, even though, we can't get an ice lake at all, but whatever. But yeah, the Panthers games were going on. The Panthers playoffs were happening. I think we won the playoffs or the tournament or the season, or I don't know, sports. Give me a break. But I am pretty sure we won. But that Wednesday, that first Wednesday of the month, since the Panthers were playing, we got canceled. So I just said, screw it, let me go to church. And we do have Wednesday night services as well. And that Wednesday night service in particular was also the service where they let us eat and drink the body and blood of Christ at our church at Calvary. We do that on the first Wednesday of every month. So, and I just happened to go this month to the first Wednesday, and there we talked about, I believe it was Second Kings at the end, like the last 2-3 chapters of Second Kings, and it was really afterwards, and praying with one of my pastors and talking to some of my friends there, fellowshipping, that I kind of realized, like, I can't really keep going to this toxic workplace environment. It's eating me up. It's making me feel ways I really shouldn't. It's making me, in a sense, even though I'm not falling into temptation, especially with the drinking, but, I'm still checking out other women, and that's not really a healthy mindset to have. Also, to be completely honest with you, and this is something I don't really want to touch too much on, if I'm being completely honest, but it was starting to become kind of a toxic workplace environment. Just very, very long story short, because it's two of us, we're both hosting the shows, me and my partner who was hosting. Just recently, he's been doing some activities I've just not agreed with, and just the way he's described it, I just don't agree with it. And sometimes he asks for my opinion with what's going on in his personal life, and I'll give him my opinion, both from a worldly, secular perspective and a biblical perspective, and he kind of just brushes it off and then doesn't do it. So it's one of those things like, why am I here if you're not even going to listen to me as well? And again, I'm not agreeing with his current life choices. It's one of those things that at the beginning of the year, he was making like regular life choices, stuff that, like, even though I didn't agree with them, they weren't as damaging or they weren't as big of an issue. But as the year has just progressed, he's been doing a lot more stuff that I just really don't agree with, and his attitude to it has just kind of not been in my favor, I guess, or like I just haven't been liking his attitude towards it. So I think for me it was just better if I just leave that environment as well. And I was also very open with him about that and playing with him and about that, and he understood to some extent. So the door's always open for him if he wants to like reach out and contact me again. But I haven't closed that door at all. But so I just like that was also another factor in it. Like I just can't be in this toxic environment, and if I'm gonna work with somebody, I want it to be with somebody who's as equally yoked as me. And especially if I'm going to be working as close with you in that capacity. Because in this capacity, it's only a one-on-one relationship. It's only the two of us working together. It's not like, say, in Banana Republic, which is my other job that I work at, where we have like 20 different people on staff. So yes, there's a few Christians, Catholics there who I talk to about Christianity or just religion in general. And granted, there's like a bunch of more people who are in the world or secular. I'm still able to talk to them. Their behaviors outside of work really aren't affecting me negatively in that sense. And they're not doing anything drastic. And if they are, they're certainly not bringing that to work as far as I know. So that's good. But in this case, where we're working one-on-one, it's also kind of starting to negatively affect me. I'm just not liking the environment. And I've told him straight up, like, hey, I don't like that you're doing this and that. And it's one of those things that, like, even though he seems to understand in some capacity, that's the key word there, in some capacity. He's not fully grasping the situation, and it's also one of those things like, hey, I kind of need to leave because of that too. Furthermore, I'm also advancing in my other career. As some of you know, as if you saw my video earlier this year, I am trying to become an RBT. I am trying to become a special needs educator, whether that's through the area of child behavioral psychology or as a teacher who focuses on SPED students, special needs students. I'm still figuring that out, but I'm currently trying to get the RBT, which has become increasingly difficult from what it seems. The organization that usually does or is supposed to be doing the RBT certification test, Pearson, I guess they don't do it anymore ever since the pandemic happened. So the best way to do it is through an agency, but even getting in contact with agencies is very hard from what it seems. So I'm still figuring that aspect of it out. But I just want to kind of give you guys kind of a life update and my thoughts on working with people who are unequally yoked, who are not in the faith. And here's the thing, you can, and God does call you to a certain extent to work with people who aren't in the faith, to communicate with people who aren't in the faith, but you also have to set your own limits, your own boundaries in regards to like you need to save yourself. If these people are not going to listen to you, so be it. But if they are going to listen to you, that's one thing. But if they're not going to listen to you, you have to know that there's a limit after a while that you have to get away from after a while. And here's the thing, and let me search it up very fast. So in the middle of May, more towards the end of May, me and some friends, we got together and did a Bible study session together, because you do that sometimes. And we ended up reading Habakkuk. And the two verses that really stuck in my mind, and I've still stuck in my mind almost a month and a half later, are verses 2:9 and 2:10. So chapter 2, verse 9 and 10. And they read, and by the way, I have the King James version, the old King James, not New King James, just King James. So if you guys want to search up how it would be New King James or whatever other translation you have, go ahead. But I have here in Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 9 and 10, I have, woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. Those two verses really convicted me at that time, back in like mid-May, because of what I was doing, because of how I was feeling, because I wasn't feeling connected to God. And then I kind of realized in talking with my pastor, one of my pastors, and in talking with my friends, that like, if I keep allowing to be in this place of toxic workplace environment, I'm essentially cutting off the good, so to speak, and in turn have sinned against thy soul. That's kind of how I take it in a sense. And also with the first beginning of verse 9, woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house. That's kind of the same thing. I'm kind of allowing this evilness, this wickedness to be allowed into my house, my temple, my soul. And again, by allowing that, I'm kind of letting myself be disconnected from God. That's one of those things that, like, ever since I read it about a month and a half ago, it's just really stuck in my heart, stuck in my mind, and I just can't get it out. Another verse that also stuck out to me is in 3 John. Let me just get to it very fast. Another verse that stuck with me was in 3 John 1:11. So yeah, that's 3 John chapter 1. I mean, there's only one chapter in 3 John, but 3 John chapter 1, verse 11. And it reads, Beloved, follow not that which is evil, but that which is good. He that doeth good is of God. He that doeth evil hath not seen God. And again, I'm trying to lead and live this Christian life, and I can't do that if I'm constantly being tempted, if I'm constantly trying to fall into sin, so to speak. And by trying, I mean, like, if I'm in this place and I'm allowing sin to tempt me, then in that sense, I'm trying to do it. I am allowing sin to come into my life. And there's a difference between just sin happening around me and me not accepting it or trying to reject it, versus me willingly putting myself in a place of sin repeatedly and me not doing anything to really protect myself. Like it says in Ephesians, you need the body of God, the armor of God, the sword of God, all that stuff for you to be spiritually protected. And if I'm being honest, I really wasn't doing that. I really wasn't doing that, if I'm being completely honest. Just one more verse to kind of leave you with this. And granted, this does tie into a teaching that we had at church, which our church does have a podcast, which I'll probably link it down below if you guys want to check it out. But we had a lesson at our church, at our young adults, about 2 weeks ago, I think, right now. A week ago or 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago. And it was revolving around 1 Peter a lot. And, no, sorry, 2 Peter. It was revolving around 2 Peter a lot. But kind of one of the verses that stuck out to me, and this is, when we go through a book, we also jump around to other books, because like, hey, this relates to that, and that relates to this, and this is how can it be used like that, this and that. So one of the verses that kind of stuck out to me during this whole teaching was from Ecclesiastes, if I can find it. There's a set of verses in Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. I'm going to go from chapter 12, honestly, because some of these verses are kind of repeated all over the place throughout all of Ecclesiastes, but I think chapter 12 is the one that distills it the most. And it's in chapter 12, verses 8 through 14. And here's the thing with Ecclesiastes, the main catchphrase of Ecclesiastes basically follows as this: vanity of vanity, saith the preacher, all is vanity. And there's a lot of different translations for that, where some people are saying misery, everything is misery, or something like that. There's also one I've seen, worthlessness, all is worthlessness, something like that. Just replace vanity with either misery, worthlessness, uselessness, pointlessness, whatever. But for me, I prefer the word vanity, and I'll get to that in a bit. But let me just read the whole thing. And again, chapter 12, verses 8 through 14. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. He gave good heed, and sought out and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words. That which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as goads, and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. And further, by these, my son, he be admonished of making many books. There is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment, and every secret, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So, the main thing there, vanity, vanity, vanity of vanity. So you have to preach all this vanity. The reason I like the word vanity in particular, and like I said, there's been other translations like misery, worthlessness, pointlessness, uselessness, etc., etc., etc. The reason I prefer vanity is because for me, it kind of connects it to the Ten Commandments in that sense, and the 7 deadly sins. I mean, you even have the word commandments here in verse 13. And for me, it kind of connects us to those things, the commandments, the 7 deadly sins, because for me, another word for vanity is pride and ego and arrogance. Yes, you could say uselessness. Yes, you could say worthlessness, misery, whatever. But vanity for me is such a poignant thing because it connects us to those ideas of the commandments of the 7 deadly sins. And for me, just again being in that place, I was kind of just living in vanity. Ecclesiastes talks about how it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you go into your job as a dedicated person. It doesn't matter if all you want to do is party. It doesn't matter if all you want to do is get knowledge. It doesn't matter what these things that you want to do, because at the end of the day, all of it is vanity. And to a certain degree, that's how I felt working in that place. I just kind of felt vain and arrogant, despite the fact that I wasn't enjoying it that much at the end. I still kind of felt vain and kind of arrogant in that sense, because I did have a good position in that place. I was looked upon. I was, in a sense, maybe even idolized, which is not good. Only one person should be idolized, God Almighty. And me being in that position, it didn't feel comfortable after a while, if I'm being honest. And I don't know, I kind of just give you these verses because, honestly, these verses are the ones that have been really stuck in my head ever since I really committed to this decision. Whenever I really went forth with this decision, I even told both my pastors, or one of my pastors, better said, I told both my pastors, my friends, and the guy I work with some of these quotes, some of these verses, and the pastors and my friends at church, they understood. My friend at the job, at the workplace, didn't really understand. He was still kind of confused as to why I was doing this, and that led to some unfortunate conversations, if I'm being generous with it. But I mean, I feel like it all just goes to show that I want to put my best foot forward. I want to do everything right for God, right in the eyes of God. And yes, I'm a sinner, and I'm sure I'm going to mess up again in the future. And who knows, maybe the way I handled this situation, maybe it wasn't the best. If I'm being honest, there are certain aspects where I know I failed in handling the situation. But at the end, I just want to do what's right by God, and I want to trust God, and I want to trust that in Him taking me out of this position, and Him taking me out of this workplace, this toxic workplace environment, that I am properly following Him. For me, it doesn't make sense that He would take me out of a toxic workplace environment and just leave me destitute. Even if I don't have another job, even if I don't resolve it immediately, I know He's going to be there regardless of the fact. I know He's always going to be there. He's going to guide me to make sure that I make the right decisions, so that we make the right decisions, better said, because any decision really isn't my decision. It's God's decision and how He wants to guide me and how He wants to use me in this life. So, I just want to discuss all this because I have discussed my other jobs in the past, at working at Banana Republic, at working at, or trying to get the RBT, like I even discussed earlier in this video. So I kind of just felt like right to discuss about this, especially because I've also done a video on Trivia Nation in and of itself during the 1-year anniversary. Yeah, I'll just be completely honest. I just wanted to do a video discussing this, and who knows, maybe this video is a bit of a jumbled mess. I don't know, and I don't really care, because, I mean, here's the thing, yesterday was my last day, last night was my last night, so, maybe it's a bit of a jumbled mess, but I just kind of want to be honest and say, like, hey, this is what's going on in my life, especially career-wise, because that is something I want to focus on a bit more. Maybe I'll give you guys a career update whenever I finally get the RBT. Hopefully that'll be soon. Kind of just want to give you guys a bit of a personal life update in terms of my job, career, and see where it goes from here. So yeah, I mean, that's really basically it for now. So that's basically it. God bless you all, and this is Daniel Mart, signing off.